Okay, look, we've got a red light. It means we're recording.
Red light, silence on set.
Is there a red light outside? I hope there is. Anyway, listen, let's do a bit of theme music first. And welcome everybody to the APSS's first podcast, would you believe? This is absolutely crazy. I'm going to have to get used to you keeping my head in the same position for the microphone as well. So today we've got welcome Brian and Alan, two of our oldest APSS members. Brian, how long have you been with the APSS?
I started in 1983.
1983, so we're looking at 40 years with the APSS. And Alan, how long have you been with the APSS?
16 years.
16 years. So now, Alan, did you join the APSS when you retired or before you retired?
When I retired.
You're right, okay. And where did you retire from?
From British Airways.
From British Airways, where about?
At Edinburgh Airport.
Wow, right, okay. What were you doing at Edinburgh Airport?
Working on airplanes.
Tell us a bit more about what you were doing on airplanes.
Well, we're doing just servicing as they came in, any troubles with them.
Right.
Changing wheels, changing brakes and things like that. That's all just a normal run-of-the-mill stuff.
And what type of aircraft were you working on?
111s, 748s, 757s, 767s, Airbus 320, 321s.
Wow, so that's a wide range of aircraft going through the years as well.
Yeah.
And how many years did you work at Edinburgh Airport for BA?
Oh God, 1980. I'm trying to think. 1970. No, it was 1974.
Right.
I worked for British Caledonian Airways.
BCAL, you used to
I came
call
out the RAF.
Yeah.
Worked for British Caledonian, and then we merged 10 years later.
Right. And what were you in the RAF?
I was at aircraft tech.
Aircraft tech.
Yeah.
Where did you work?
All over the place.
Right. Well, you would in the RAF, I guess, wouldn't
Very
you?
first posting straight out of training was Cyprus.
Cyprus.
Yeah,
oh, nice one. So you got
Sycamore
a tan.
helicopters. Oh, it was murder.
Was it?
Oh, you had to drink and swim in the sea, and it was rough.
Did they have air conditioning in those days?
No,
they didn't.
No air conditioning.
No,
you used to go to bed at night on a sheet, just you lying there naked. And when you woke up, you got out, there was your imprint on the sheet.
On the sheet.
Yeah, soaking wet.
Yeah, so obviously good fluid intakes. You had to
you had to have good fluid intakes. Yeah. Well, that's how you keep drinking beer, isn't it?
Well, exactly. That's what the beer was for.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, Brian, thanks, Alan. Brian, 40 years with the APSS. Now, you don't look that old. You must have been with the APSS before you retired.
Yeah, I started in 1983.
Right, and so what were you doing when you joined?
I was working at Edinburgh Airport for British Airways.
British Airways,
yeah.
Okay. And going back further than that, who did you work with before BA?
Well, I served a 5-year apprenticeship at Royal Naval Aircraft Repair Yard, Donnybristle. Which is now Dalgety Bay Housing Estate.
Okay, over the other side of the bridge from us here.
Well, I am a Fifer.
You're a Fifer. Right. You're from Dunfermline.
One of God's chosen people.
Okay.
Yeah.
and so when you did you join as a technician, or were you in the RAF?
No, I was never in the RAF.
Okay, were you a civilian technician?
An aircraft fitter. Yep.
Right, and what company were you working for then?
British European Airways.
Right. So let's get this right. So you were working over in Dalgety Bay for British European Airways.
No.
Is that right?
No.
Sorry, I beg your pardon.
For the Navy.
Ah, right, okay.
It was all naval aircraft that came in for repair at Donnybristle.
Right, and what was the company that worked in at Dalgety Bay? Who were they?
Well, it was naval bosses, but it was all civilian workers.
Right.
There was no aircraft company. It was
okay,
military.
So it wasn't a civilian maintenance company as such. It was actually controlled by the Navy, but it was civilian workers and aircraft engineers that were working on them. Yeah. Right. Okay, I'm with you. It's a wee bit like I think a bit later on you had Airworks who did a lot of the RAF.
Yeah. They were at Donnybristle as well.
They were there as well. Yeah. Right. Okay. And what were you working on at Donnybristle?
Initially it was Sea Furies, and then we went on to Fairy Gannets.
Fairy Gannets?
Yeah.
Wow. Now, those aircraft, I can't remember them being a runway at Donnybristle. There was a runway at Donnybristle.
Very short runway, unfortunately.
Right, okay. So it would be limited to the aircraft actually getting in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
And-
one of the reasons it had to close. They couldn't extend it any way at all.
Right.
So the fast jets couldn't operate out of there.
Right. Right. Okay. So when the fast jet period came in, then it wasn't usable anymore.
Correct.
So they turned it into a housing estate, basically.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's interesting because I didn't realise that there had been a runway there. I thought it was for seaplanes
No,
that
no.
they were using it for at Donnybristle, but I'm obviously wrong, as I am on many occasions. But it's really interesting to have to learn that history. It's absolutely fascinating. And so moving on from Donnybristle, you joined British European Airways, BEA,
Yeah.
who were later to merge with BOAC and become British Airways. Would I be right in saying you were working on Tridents at the start?
At the start, it was Dakotas and Viscounts.
Oh my God, you are old.
Oh, beg your pardon.
Dakotas and Viscounts.
Yeah, then we had
Wow.
Heralds,
Heralds,
111s, Tridents, the Budgie.
Paraffin budgie, they used to
Yeah.
call
Oh,
that.
budgies.
Is that the 748?
That's a
Alan?
748, yeah.
And ATP,
The advanced turboprop.
Yeah.
with
Mhm.
Comets, the Tridents.
And you worked on all of them?
Yeah.
Wow, that's fascinating.
yeah.
And mostly turnaround work,
Yeah.
brakes,
Yeah.
tyres,
Working outside all the
checks, working outside in all
Yeah.
weathers.
time. And all weathers.
Yeah, yeah. So it must have been a hard job at times, but really good fun in the good weather as well.
It's marvellous in good
Mm.
weather.
In good weather, yeah.
And-
That's nice.
And you would have been you both would, I imagine, would have worked at Turnhouse as opposed to
Yeah.
Edinburgh
Yeah,
Airport.
yeah,
Am I
it's
right?
Turnhouse when I
Turnhouse.
started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was Turnhouse, yeah. The old
Turnhouse
airport.
the old
Yeah.
Turnhouse
The old
Airport,
airport, yeah.
basically,
Yeah.
where they had the. I mean, it's so sad that these buildings are no longer there. But you had the hangar there. I have great memories myself of visiting there. My auntie was a telephone PBX operator, and that the telephone exchange was directly underneath the radar room and the control tower.
Oh, yeah.
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 And we even used to get to camp down there of an evening if my auntie was doing a night shift. And because she used to be in the WAFs and she had the camp beds and it was all kitted out. So we used to camp down behind the PBX and get to go and see the man operating the radar. We had to be very quiet. Well, they stand behind them. We could stand behind them and watch but not say a word. And then up into the control tower. And then across to the hangars where, and you know what, we'd be climbing in about aircraft that you guys might have been working on at some time.
Yeah, no,
In the hangars they had herons and they had chipmunks and
That was
stuff. Of course, that would be RAF, wouldn't it?
Chipmunks
Yeah.
was Airworks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
across the other
right.
side was Ferranti's hangars.
Yeah.
Yes, and Lothian, no, what did they call it? Lowland Services, wasn't
That's
it?
right, that's correct. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So you had one side of the hangar was for Ferranti and their test
Yeah.
test bed aircraft, like the back one. They had a
We
back
worked
one.
on that. We worked on that.
Did you?
serviced
We
it,
did
yeah.
the maintenance on that for
Yeah.
Ferranti's.
Right.
Yeah.
And was there any? Did they have a Canberra there as well?
Yep.
I read they
Right.
had a Canberra, Dakota, and a
And then
Buccaneer.
a Buccaneer as well.
And a Buccaneer. So they were all based there, or did they
Yeah.
just get maintained
No, they were based
there?
there.
They were based.
Yeah.
They were based there doing experimental work.
Right.
They had a dove and a heron for doing their civilian.
Now, what was the difference between the Dove and the Heron? One was 4-engine, one was two engines.
2 engines difference, yeah.
Now, which was which then?
Dove was twin engined.
Twin engined, and the Heron was the 4 engines. Gypsy Majors, I reckon,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was, yeah.
And did you do any maintenance on that?
No.
No. It was all airframe.
No, well, we didn't touch the
We didn't
Ferranti.
touch the
They had
Ah.
their own civilian workforce.
I'm with you,
It's
right?
only when they got the 111 in.
Yeah.
Because you
we-
guys had
Yeah.
the ticket for the
Yeah.
111.
We-
Yeah, and they paid off most of their own workforce.
Yeah.
Right.
And,
Right.
it was just us left, really.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That was just a wee bit extra work on the side.
Yeah.
Okay, through your employers, or was it
Through the
basically?
employers,
yeah.
or through
Yeah.
the employers.
Yeah, and so was it overtime for you then?
Yeah.
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 Right.
Yeah.
And the weekends and what have you, if you
No,
wanted.
during the week as well. when
During
days
the
off.
week.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But you will have seen massive changes at that airport over the years. Then I mean, they never stopped changing it. Let's
Oh, yeah,
face it.
All the
But
airports
massive
are like building
changes.
sites all the time.
Yeah.
But there was only the one runway at that time, of course, the old runway.
Yeah. Exactly. And they park cars on it now.
Mm-hmm.
But I do remember it, and I started flying out of there in the mid-70s with a friend of mine. And so I do remember the old runway setup and the old
The old terminal. Yeah.
And the old
That
terminal.
was a joke, that terminal.
Well, we used to love it as kids, getting to come down, and if we were meeting people off on a plane, we'd be standing on the balcony watching the Viscounts and the Vanguards coming in, and those screaming engines. It was wonderful watching them coming up and parking up. But what a noise came off of these things!
Oh, dart engines.
The dart engines.
Yeah. Whistler.
Whistler,
Whistler.
and even the back 111 before they started fitting hush kits.
It didn't make any difference.
Which made no
difference at all.
What did they call it? A pocket rocket?
Yeah,
Didn't it? The back
Yeah, the
111.
200 series was a pocket rocket.
Yeah. But what impressed me about the back 111 was the rear stairs.
Yeah.
One of the few, I think there was only the Boeing 727 was another aircraft that had the rear stairs going in, which is quite fascinating. I think you can get into them over the road, over in the museum. I don't know if they'll allow access, but...
Well, they used to.
Yeah, because we worked on that.
We worked on these back stairs for ages.
Did a lot of mods on that.
Did you?
Yeah.
Right. What kind of mods would you have to do on them?
The steps didn't work for a start.
Goodness.
Fix them up.
Right. Oh, this is on the museum's 111.
The museum's 111,
Right. And that 111 over at the museum, would obviously, well, I'm not saying obviously, but did it land there or was it transported there?
No, it was brought up in bits.
Oh, right. So it was actually transported on trucks.
Because it came from another museum. They were going to destroy it.
Right.
And they took it, brought it up in bits. And the thing is, when they put it together, there was an awful lot of bits left over, Brian? An awful lot of bits left over.
They're all in the holes now. You used to have it in the holes.
Yeah, well, it's not typical. I mean, the thing is, if it's just going to be for display, then I don't think we need to worry too much about that. But I think if you finish building something in your normal job and there were bits left over, then it would be a bit more serious.
A wee bit, indeed.
But the way am I right in saying, I know that the Vulcan landed at East Fortune, and I know East Fortune for a short time became Edinburgh Airport. Do you remember that?
I worked here then.
Oh, you were there actually working?
1961.
And what was coming in those days?
They started off with, the Vanguards had just come into service.
All right.
And they started off coming in here, but they were too heavy for the old runway and it started to break up. So they took the Vanguards off and replaced them with 2 Viscounts every service. Ah,
okay. So they were basically doubling up on the Viscounts to maintain the level of service.
Yeah.
What was happening with the runway? Was the tarmac breaking up? Is that?
It was just been resurfaced, and they did a few other mods out on the main apron. There used to be flower beds. I don't know if you remember that.
Right.
In front of the terminal building.
Yes.
The old airport.
Yes.
They took all these away and just made it one big apron.
Right.
That was the main thing.
Oh well, it's an amazing. That was an amazing little, just a very, very short step back in time. But you guys are going to have a hell of a lot more stories to tell us, I'm sure, if we can prompt them or get them out of you.
But memories are getting old as well.
Yeah, well, you know what? It's maybe a good idea to sit down and chat about these things from time to time. Then, and we'll get it recorded because it's really good local history as well, aviation history especially. So listen, Brian, Alan, thank you very much indeed for joining us today.
Not at all. Our pleasure.
Yes.
Thank you.
I like the music.
It's good, eh?
He is head banging music.